Hello, I'm Marcus Boston, and the question for today's quick video is, will a bad result, is that the standard that you have to use to prove that your baby's injury was due to medical malpractice? Now, I'm taking the time to shoot this video because this is really important, and we get this question, or this is stated a lot of times when we speak to families or we speak to parents about their child's birth injury. And what we'll hear is, well, Mr. Boston or Marcus, my baby has an injury, so because we've got an injury and my baby's brain has been injured, automatically this must mean that the doctors did something wrong, and because they did something wrong, we are ready to move forward with a medical malpractice case. And the short answer that is that in general, you're not going to use a bad result as the standard to gauge what happened or to be able to prove a medical malpractice case. To be able to do this, I'm going to help you understand, because I mentioned that term standard of care, and under Maryland law, that term standard of care, it means something. And what it means is the easiest way to understand standard of care when we are talking about medical malpractice or birth trauma cases is that it is what would a reasonable and prudent doctor do under the same set of circumstances and facts. That's what we're talking about when we say standard of care. And there are more requirements, such as being able to use medical experts. You need medical experts in these cases, and the medical experts will give opinions as to that standard of care, what is the standard of care, and whether your doctor deviated from the standard which caused the injury. So I'm hoping that you can understand, having to use this analysis or taking it step by step. Standard of care, what is the standard of care, whether there was a deviation from the standard of care, whether that deviation is what caused the injury or the harm. And so if you really kind of step back and analyze it and really think about it, in some cases you can have a bad result and the doctors have done everything right. They stayed within the standard of care and something bad happened. So in the birth injury or the birth trauma realm, what you can sometimes have is a baby may have a genetic abnormality, or there may be a developmental, as the baby was developing, something just developed the wrong way, and this is what has caused the injury to the child, or a brain injury or something of that nature. And you can have in some of these cases where the doctors will have done everything right. There were no problems. Fetal heart monitor, they read the strips right. The strips were good. Mom didn't have any issues. There was no meconium or anything present. There weren't other problems, like I said, with the strips. And at the end, we find out that the baby has an injury. And so the purpose of today's video is to help you understand why that bad result, you can't just look at it and say, well, I got a bad result, that's automatically going to mean I have a slam dunk medical malpractice case or a birth trauma case. No, we have to analyze the cases. We have to do a thorough investigation. We have to look at things like the fetal heart monitor. We have to look and see what was on the strips. Were there late decelerations? Was it bradycardia? Was there tachycardia present? Were there other problems on the strip? Did the baby, when the water broke, was there meconium in the fluid? And meconium coupled with those other problems on the fetal heart monitor, were these things taken in together? Did the doctors and nurses possibly miss fetal distress, and because they missed that fetal distress, they didn't treat it right, and because they didn't treat it, which in a lot of instances will mean an emergency C-section when warranted, if they didn't treat it right, did it go on for so long that the baby's fetal reserves were pretty much depleted, and now we have a brain injury? Maybe there was HIE present, reduced level of blood and oxygen, which led to the child having a brain injury. So, all of these things and more have to take place before we can know whether there is a viable birth trauma case. And so, like I said, for today's video, I'm trying to help you understand some of this investigation, where things have to go, and why just a bad result is not going to be enough. If you have more questions, if you want to talk with me, you want me to do an investigation, or you want to talk with me about what's going on with your child, then this is what I invite you to do. You can go ahead and pick up the phone and call me. The telephone number is on the screen, and we can talk about what you have going on. This is something that we do. I talk with families about these types of issues all the time. Now, before I get out of here, I want to make sure that you understand, because like I said, in some of these other videos in the past and stuff, we have individuals who will contact me. They're not in Maryland. I practice law here in Maryland, and they'll call and they'll have questions. If it's a situation in which we think we can help you and you're not in Maryland, we have to use what we call local counsel. We have to use attorneys in your state to push these cases forward. So I just want to make sure that you understand that if you're calling me and you're not in Maryland, you've got to understand that. So that's going to be it for today's quick educational video. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm one of the childbirth, injury, and medical malpractice attorneys practicing law here in the state of Maryland at Boston Law Group, LLC. And we will see you next time. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.